So you might think, what is this BrainTap thing? I've never heard of it. No, this is the culmination of 30 plus years of research and understanding how our brains, even how our hearts work, and how our biology works, and integrating it all using big data sets. So now all of a sudden, you actually can change your state way more quickly than you might expect.
I don't think there's a professional level of sport or in business that don't use some form of meditation. It's just people don't want to learn how to do it. So that's why we have BrainTap. If you've struggled with meditation before, come on by the Biohacking Conference. We'll show you how to do it easy. And as Dave said, we're going to meditate faster because within 10 minutes, we could imitate a cycle of sleep. We're talking about the big convention in September 15, 17, telling the BrainTap world to show up and be proud to be a biohacker. So glad to have you on.
Well, you got it. I mean, the Biohacking Conference is a conference I started 10 years ago. It was the first biohacking conference, and it was originally just 100 people in a bar in San Francisco for a couple of days doing some stuff. It was open at night as a bar. During the day, we got to use the space. And it evolved into a group of more than 2,000 people who meet once a year, and you get to play with the latest biohacking tech and meet each other and learn from experts. And I MC the event, and it's really inspiring, but it's mostly about touching and feeling. And you're the title sponsors. I wanted to take a minute to say thanks, because making your brain work better is what so many biohackers want. And sometimes like, oh, I wanted my hormones to work better. What does that do? It makes your brain work better. And end of the day, it's how you feel. And you're not going to feel good if your brain doesn't work. And then you come along with BrainTap and saying, well, what if we just manage the performance of your brain using the definition of biohacking? I mean, the definition actually, this isn't the one they put in the dictionary, but still the definition I wrote is the argument to change the environment around you and inside you so you have control of your own biology. And you're like, oh, look, we have our tech. We're using it to change the environment around you. So the flashing lights, the sounds, the pressure points on the ears that are getting activated with light, and that changes the environment inside of you so you have control and you get to dial up the state you want. It's some powerful stuff. So I figured your audience would be super interested in the whole world of biohacking at the Biohacking Conference. So that's why we're here. And you're also getting them an extra 10% off. If you guys go to biohackingconference.com, use code DrPorter10, DrPorter10, get an extra 10% off, and it's already on sale for 30% off. So it's a massive deal. You want to go there? You'll get to play with BrainTap. You get to meet Patrick. He'll be on stage, and he'll be walking around. You meet his team, and you'll meet the teams for dozens of other biohacking companies where their founders, the innovators, they're there. You can touch it. You can experience it. You can ask questions. You can meet friends and just build a community around people who care about showing up the way they want in the world. And I think BrainTap is a major part of that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, when we first started going there, it's one place. I was just talking to somebody actually earlier today that charges $1,000 a day to go to their biohacking spa. They can come to this. They come to this convention and basically hang out at the biohacking playground and just really get tweaked if they want to. They can figure all this out because there's so much good technology there. Can you tell us a little bit about what they're going to? Is there anything new or?
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, the biohacking spa or biohacking clinic kind of idea is something I invented about 8 years ago. And Upgrade Labs is a franchise right now around all of North America where that's happening. And I tell you, $1,000 a day is a lot because you can get a whole month's membership for a few $100 and access to this stuff all the time. So at the conference center, there actually is an Upgrade Labs at the Beverly Hilton, which is in Beverly Hills. It's where the Golden Globes are. That's where the conference is because they can serve you the very best kind of food. So you can go there and you can experience like dozens of different biohacking techs, the latest in light therapy, the latest in sleep enhancement. And funny enough, all of this circles around how you're going to show up in the world, and all of it eventually changes your brain, which is why I love the idea of focusing on the brain. And I love the idea of focusing on the core biology in the body, even if it's a supplement, whether it's, I don't know, a new kind of coffee that might be dangerous. Danger Coffee, my new coffee brand. But all of those things go together. And it turns out we're now discovering, oh, if you use the BrainTap on this setting, but you did cryotherapy before, and yes, there'll be multiple cryotherapy vendors at the conference, then what's going to happen? Like, what settings should you use when? What do you use before bed? What do you use when you wake up? And we're just now like at the dawn of a new understanding of what it is to be human. Because, oh, if you do this in the right order at the right time, it totally changes how your brain works, and it rewires itself. And I think it's foundational. So with you guys, we've got a group meditation for 3 days at Upgrade You, and you're actually going to do some group meditations at the conference with BrainTap. Can you tell me more about how that's going to work?
Yeah, I'm going to be teaching some people some really quick tricks, because some people just don't have 15, 20 minutes to do a meditation. So when I'm going to...
Hold on, did you just say hurry, meditate faster, Patrick?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we're finding is that with technology, we can get faster, but of course from the stage, I can't put a BrainTap headset on everybody. So we're going to teach them some of the hacks. Really, there are some brain hacks. You don't have to have equipment every time. You can find these out. And the real idea is how do we reset our neurology? So that's what they're going to learn. They're going to learn 3 different ways to do that. Every day, a different process. And especially good for those entrepreneurs that are out there that are running these wellness businesses that are so stressed out. They're supposed to be stressing, helping everybody else de-stress. Give them a chance to de-stress, but it's also a good way to just reset your brain for learning. There's so much knowledge at these. I mean, you have some of the greatest names in the business, of course, on stage talking, from, Jim Quick, yourself, other people. So, people are going to be learning. They don't want to miss anything. So we put it right in the main hall. So right after lunch, they can tune their brain up, get ready to learn in the afternoon. And that's so key, because sometimes people get tired after they eat. So we want to re-engage that nervous system and get their brain operating at peak performance.
For sure. So in fact, I would recommend, when people are there, by the way, guys, biohackingconference.com, use code Dr. Porter, DR Porter 10, and you're going to save 30% already, plus another 10% when you use the code. And what that's going to do is that's going to let you get there where you could go and use BrainTap at Dr. Porter's group or at his booth. You could actually use it before you eat and be like, oh, that's funny. I didn't want to eat the normal, chips and whatever the heck you would have wanted. Or maybe, in the afternoon, we go, normally I feel tired now. I'm going to go do this for 5 or 10 minutes, or I'm going to go learn from him. Or, and you might not like me saying this, Patrick, but you might just say, you know what? I was on my way to the BrainTap booth and I met this amazing other thing and I did it. And then I went to Dr. Porter's booth later. That it's like, It's like a kid in a candy store kind of feeling. Even Dr. Mercolas is like, this is my favorite conference of the year. And he said that publicly because it's about being able to meet Patrick, being able to actually touch a BrainTap, touch all of the things they're saying. Oh, what's that? And then you go poke it. And it's like you could try and buy everything on the planet, including really expensive stuff, and have it shipped to your house and try it out, which is what I did to start Upgrade Labs, to do the conference. But it's not sustainable. And I mean, I live, on a farm, so I can pull that off. And it's my job. But for the rest of us, if you wanted to go experience all this stuff, there's no way to do this. And it's about learning. It's about the best people on stage. It's about fun. It's about your energy. And anyone can go to YouTube and learn whatever you want. You don't even need to go to college anymore. So what you're going to find is that it's about the quality of the experience, and the knowledge gets in better because of that. But it's really, you get to go to the tech hall. You get to just see the stuff. So tell me what's the latest thing with BrainTap, because I wanted to pick your brain a little bit here, Dr. Porter.
Well, I think the main thing we're doing is, of course, they're going to find out our version 5 is a much more comfortable headset. We're always looking for ways to improve the comfort. We put better speakers in there so that people can experience that. But when they come, what they're going to really experience, we have a new program called Overcoming Overwhelm that people are, for this day and age, this is a good place to do it. I think the main thing is that they'll see how we can stack up, because a lot of the vendors there, which we love them, this is our favorite conference. The hardest thing for us is our 39 employees. They all want to go to this. They all want to be there because it's such a fun place. And most conferences we go to, we might see 2 or 3 of these devices. We're not going to see, like, it seems like hundreds of them that you have there. I mean, literally people could just stay in the playground there and not leave and get their money's worth. But I think that the main thing they're going to get with BrainTap is they can get their biometrics. Our new NeuroCheck, we've added some new fields to it so we can find out gut health. We can tell them about their immunity. One of the things we do tell people, Dave, across the country when I'm speaking is, when we go to a doctor event, an MD event, the numbers are terrible. I mean, these people look like the walking wounded, they're about to die. At Biohacking, I can say we've had the highest number of people in the, if you say A students, these are people that are measuring their biometrics. And I think they're going to learn a lot even at the lunches. I mean, there's so many great people you have in that room that aren't even speaking. I mean, you have some great people just attending. I met quite a few good people there. So come on by the booth. We're going to get to measure your neurology. You get to take that home with you. We'll give an 8-page report that you can take home, start using, and introduce you to BrainTap. A lot of people are using it now, but there's a lot of new times. And what we're doing now is you've given us a really big space, so we're adding more chairs because we always have such a backlog. So if you've been there and you said, I just can't get in because there's too many people, we're going to be adding, I think, 4 or 5 more chairs or something. It's a lot bigger space than we had last time.
People might not know the history of light and sound and brain enhancement, but it turns out I have, who sent that to me? A friend of mine who lives in Hawaii sent me like a 1980s, like falling apart pair of light sound goggles, like the very first generation ever. And, we've been trying to do this, but we didn't have the internet connectivity. We didn't have the precise programming and the understanding, even the ability to measure brainwaves back then that you do now. So you might think, what is this BrainTap thing? I've never heard of it. No, this is the culmination of 30 plus years of research in understanding how our brains, even how our hearts work, and how our biology works, and integrating it all using big data sets. So now all of a sudden, you actually can change your state way more quickly than you might expect. So if you're already a meditator and you've never tried biohacking on top of meditation, I will straight up tell you, you can meditate 10 times faster than you are now, even if you're an experienced meditator, and meditation is good for you. We're just learning how to do it better, and sometimes some tech really helps. And it's okay to do it without or with tech, but BrainTap is really making a big difference. So I appreciate the work that you're doing in the field, and that you're making it available at the Biohacking Conference in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, well, we didn't know we were biohacking 30 years ago. Nobody had that term. You didn't coin
yeah, hadn't made that term up yet, but when I came out with it, it was after me working for about 15 years in the field of longevity and cognitive enhancement, and realizing there's not a name for us, for people who are like, I want to feel the way I want to feel, my body to do what I want it to do. And sometimes it means, yes, I want to be, lean. I used to weigh 300 pounds, but for me, the brain fog was what I cared about. Like, losing some weight was nice, but I already had a relationship. So if I didn't lose the extra 10 pounds, it wasn't going to change things. I was going to love myself more. But if my brain would work all the time, and then I wouldn't yell at people when I didn't want to because I was too tired, when I had emotional regularity, when I could just come up with things, I could tap into my creativity, that was the most precious thing of all. That's why I started biohacking. That let neuroscientists and things like what you're doing talk to bodybuilders and talk to astronauts and Navy SEALs and professional athletes. And suddenly, it's a new world out there.
Yeah. I don't think there's a professional level of sport or in business that don't use some form of meditation. It's just people don't want to learn how to do it. So that's why we have BrainTap. If you've struggled with meditation before, come on by the Biohacking Conference. We'll show you how to do it easy. And as Dave said, we're going to meditate faster, because within 10 minutes, we could imitate a cycle of sleep. I mean, you can come in, the one we usually play at the Biohacking Conference is only a 10-minute session, but people are blown away. They think it's like 3 or 4 hours because there's no time there. We're suspending time, and we're getting more out of that experience because you're going through those neurological states that are going to help you to, like you said, handle the pressure, get that anxiety and stress out of the system. It's just a part of everyday life now. I mean, if you don't know how to handle that, then you make bad decisions. So we're going to teach you how to make better decisions and basically show up as your best self, which is part of biohacking at its finest. Show up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually as your best self.
I'm glad you put spiritual in there, because spirituality has always been a part of biohacking. In fact, some people know the story, but my original idea for Bulletproof Coffee, which I'm famous for, even though Danger Coffee is my new coffee company with all my current biohacks in it, I was on the side of Mount Kailash, which is the holiest mountain in the world in far remote Western Tibet. It's where Hindus and Buddhists, it's like their Mount Olympus, where the gods live. And it's this holy pilgrimage you make. So I'm kind of into the spiritual thing, and I've trained as a shaman and even 40 years of Zen is my neuroscience company. And people routinely have spiritual experiences while doing meditation. Now I got to ask you this. When people start doing BrainTap, I mean, do they see a change in their spiritual perception, their spiritual life?
Well, I think you can't help but once you realize you're not this physical being. You're more than this physical being. You have this emotional self, and you start to get glimpses. There's something out there called the God helmet, which I think you're familiar with as well.
I have one.
Yeah, I have a couple of them. And what we did was we said, how could we do what the God helmet's doing? So we did it with GABA. So if somebody wants to try that when they're there, we've had people have a psilocybin trips without a psilocybin because we have the gamma sessions that were mapped. We're trying to activate that part of the brain that the God helmet says that you activate. And we can do that through frequency, light, and sound. We can position different frequencies in different areas of the brain now because of stereo and all those. So that's one of the series that's been pretty popular now, since biohackers want to do the plant-based medicine, but some don't want to do the plant-based medicine. They want to
I recommend, if you're listening to this thinking about doing plant-based medicine, I have written about this a lot, but I recommend you do all the other stuff first. You should do BrainTap. You should do EMDR. You should try tantric sex. You should try holotropic breathing. And if none of those get you where you need to go, then you start with the gentler things like MDMA, and then you work your way up. But a lot of people say, I'm just going to go, spend 2 weeks doing ayahuasca or something. I think that's the riskiest thing you could do. And there is risk to that. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it should just be at the very end of your journey, not at the beginning. And your journey should start out with meditation, breathing, with BrainTap, with biofeedback, with neurofeedback, all those kinds of things. They're very valuable, and they're safer, and they put you in charge. And that's what's really important here.
Yeah. And if those of you that have the BrainTap out there, we have put a series of breathwork sessions on there with Pavel, who's a fellow brain biohacker, who put together a series for us because I believe there's 3 phases to wellness. We're the third phase. The first phase is nutrition. You can't outthink a bad diet. And then number 2 is we have to get moving and breathing. But if you don't have brain health, all the rest doesn't matter. So we have to get that stress down. And what'll happen is once stress is out of the way, you'll open up your field of information, and you'll know that you're not just this physical body. You are more than that, and you'll have those experiences. We did a psilocybin study, and so I tried a little bit of it, not enough to go on a trip, but I just wanted to try it to see what would happen for microdosing. And I said, that's like a BrainTap session. And then we mapped their brains using EEG, and then we made the sessions, the gamma sessions, to mimic that, and people were having them. So our brain, even like all the opioids in that, we just finished a study in Brazil on overcoming opioid addiction, and we could trigger that in the brain because the brain's doing all the work anyway. It's just, are you using a pharmaceutical, or are you using a natural remedy, or are you using your own breath work? We know that like people like Wim Hof can be injected with poisons and breathe it out of his body. So we don't even know 1/10 of what our brain and body can do as far as our spiritual selves.
Now, you mentioned the Generation 5. When did your Generation 5 BrainTap come out?
About 5 months ago.
I don't think you sent me the new Generation 5. I still have the 4.
Yeah.
Did you put me off your list?
I have to get that to you for sure.
Dude.
Yeah, it's a much more relaxing. I think he was waiting for Generation 6, but we'll get you 5.
Yeah, I want to try it and see the difference between the 4s. So, all right, that's on my list to get now. And at the conference, people are going to see the 5 or the 6?
They're going to see the 6. They're going to see the 5. They're going to see the 5.
The 5.
We might have a couple samples there for people like yourself, because we're doing some things we don't really want to talk about here because people might wait. But we're selling out so fast. We're actually, this has been a great time for us. So many biohackers. This is our family now. I mean, once we went to the first biohacking conference, we said this is our tribe, and we fit right in because we're not competing against all these other therapies that are out there. We work well with red light therapy, like you said, after cryogenics. Anything you do to move your nervous system, you really want to get that neuroplastic change by settling down, doing some work, or doing BrainTap, some way to get your brain to integrate that neuro change that happens, whether it's even a physical workout. You make a lot of brain change when you do that.
You do. And that's the thing about biohacks is there's so many, and they're all complementary. The only time they're not really complementary is when you get these like low quality companies who don't have any innovation, and they say, oh, I saw something, I'm just going to try to copy it and do a crappy job and sell it for bargain basement prices. And it like pulls the whole thing down. Like if you're wondering why there's junk food everywhere made out of crap in stores, it's that pattern. And so I'm working at the Biohacking Conference to curate out the knockoff, the copycats, the intellectual property thieves. So you're getting the innovators and the people who are actually doing the work of discovering the future and making it real. So there's a lot of curating. I can't tell you that I've tested every single thing that's at the Biohacking Conference, but all of it goes through our BS filter. We get rid of the multi-level marketing, and we make sure that there's, you know, some credibility to it. And I think that's really important. So you go there and you're like, oh, I can't believe that this thing had that effect. And sometimes it's surprising, or maybe we don't know why it works, but there's enough evidence that it does work, that it's good. And I think BrainTap far exceeds that. You guys have tons of evidence. Patrick, thanks again for having me on and for talking about the conference. Guys, biohackingconference.com. Use code DRPorter10, and that's going to give you an additional 10% off the 30% off sale happening right now. September 15th, Beverly Hills, 15th, 16th, 17th. And it'll be the best conference you've ever been to. You'll form lifelong friendships with people there. There are people like you. And community is something that we've all had taken away from us over the last 2 years of government interventions. This is a way to put it back and upgrade your community and get to hang out with Patrick, who's probably going to hack your brain for you.
Yeah, and I agree. We tell everybody, when somebody tells me, if I only go to one conference this year, I say, you got to go to Beverly Hills and go to the Biohacking Conference, because you're going to get the best of the best there. Dave's done a great job and his team putting it together. It's a world-class event. We're obviously we're sold out and we're title sponsor. We love it. We want to get as many of the brain tappers there as possible. I can't encourage you enough. It's worth the flight. It's worth going there. Also, it's a beautiful place. I mean, they do the Oscars there and all those other things you're talking about. So it's a very beautiful place, and it looks like you're in another world while you're there. So it's a lot of fun. Please come out and join us.